So the purpose of this presentation is to talk about what defines a charter school, public charter school in Hawaii, especially compared to charter schools on the mainland, because every state has its own different definition of a charter school and its own laws that govern charter schools. So it's really important to clarify what defines a charter school in Hawaii. Let's begin with what defines a public school. So in Hawaii, a public school, actually everywhere, a public school means there's no admissions criteria, so anyone can go to a public school. It means it's tuition free. There's nobody has to pay to go to a public school. In most states that have signed on to them, their content is driven by Common Core standards in public schools, and also related, students have to then take tests, state-mandated tests in public schools. Public schools also serve all students, including students that have special needs, so special education program. All of these things define what makes a public school. No admissions criteria, free, Common Core standards, state-mandated tests, serve all students. By all of those definitions, charter schools are public schools. So that's a really important distinction. Charter public schools, public charter schools are public schools. In Hawaii, there's two different kinds of charter schools. There's both startup charter schools and then conversion charter schools. And so I'll talk through a little bit of what it means to be each of those. A startup charter originated as an idea. A concept for a school probably had something a little bit different from a traditional education system, and people submitted an idea for the charter to the Charter Commission to have that idea approved. A facility is not provided to startup charter schools. They're founded based on the idea, not based on a place. And there's no geographic priority for students to attend that startup charter school. So, for example, our school, SEEQS, is a startup public charter school. Students can attend from anywhere on the island and really anywhere in the state of Hawaii. Finally, there's an enrollment lottery for charter schools if there's more interest than there is available space. Also, we are funded through the state budget. So our funding is publicly funded for startup charter schools, but it's not actually through the Department of Education budget. I'll talk more about the relationship between charter schools and the Department of Education, but do note that we're publicly funded, but not through the Department of Education budget. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about conversion charter schools. There's a lot of parallels, but they're not exactly the same. So conversion charters, by contrast to startups, conversion charters originated as a Department of Education school. So not so much founded on the idea, but founded on an original school that wanted the curricular freedom and flexibility that a charter school has, and so they applied to move from the Department of Education into a charter public school. For those schools, they remain in their DOE facility. They also serve their geographic area first. So for example, Waialae Public Charter School, which is nearby here, they have a geographic area here in Kaimuki. They have to serve those students first because they really serve as the home school. And then if they have any extra space, they can let students in by geographic exception, GE, and by lottery. So if there's more folks for those spaces than they have room for, they do a lottery. So we do a lottery at startup charters. Conversions do a lottery for only extra space not filled by their homeschool students. They're also funded through the state budget, not through the DOE budget, at a per pupil rate. So both startup charters and conversion charters are funded by the state at a per pupil rate. So by the number of students we have. This year, 2016-2017 school year, that's about $7,000 per student is the rate that both kinds of charter schools are funded. Let's now talk about Hawaii charter schools compared to mainland charter schools. I'm going to make some generalizations about mainland charter schools, but note that every state has different rules and authorities for charter schools. Generally speaking, a lot of charter schools on the mainland are operated as nonprofit or for-profit organizations. There are only a few states where that's not the case. Also, most teachers in mainland charter schools are not part of a teachers union. Only about 8% of teachers in the United States that work in charter schools are part of a union. And also on the mainland, many schools are a part of charter management organizations, also known as CMOs, that run multiple schools or networks under one model. By contrast, in Hawaii, if we're going to go parallel here, by Hawaii, charter schools are operated as state agencies, not as nonprofits, not as for-profits for sure. We are operated as state agencies. We're also in Hawaii, all of our teachers are part of the HSTA, the Hawaii State Teachers Association. All of our teachers are by law required to be part of the union. So teachers in Hawaii charter schools are unionized. Also, our schools here are based on individualized missions and visions, not so much the one model, lots of different schools CMO thing. In some cases, we do have networks that consolidate some operations and advocacy. There's the Hawaii Public Charter Schools Network, and there's another one. There's a couple of networks that consolidate the Hawaiian-focused charter schools. A brief history of charter schools in Hawaii. The original charter school law was passed in 1999 and was originally based around the idea of school community-based management to meet the specific needs of schools and communities. The first charter schools were Waialae and Lanikai public charter schools. They also opened up opportunities for culture-based schools to serve Hawaii students. Back when the charter school law was first passed and through the first over a decade of existence of charter schools, Charter School Administrative Office is what provided both support and oversight to charter schools. In 2013, Act 130 passed through the legislation and revised the charter school law pretty significantly and established the Public Charter School Commission, which now serves as the oversight and authority for all charter schools in Hawaii. So now let's talk about what that Public Charter School Commission is. Looking at this document here, which is quite a big document, but it's intended to, this visual is intended to show the relationship between charters and the Department of Education. And you can see at the top here, the state of Hawaii, all public schools are part of the state of Hawaii and operated under the Board of Education. So the Board of Education is the governing body for both the Department of Education and oversees and appoints members to the Public Charter School Commission. But the Charter Commission basically operates like the Board of Ed for charter schools. However, each individual charter school also has its own governing board that operates sort of like a local school board for each individual school. So charter schools, there's 34 currently right now in 2017, early 2017. Each charter school has its own individual mission and vision, its own governing board that then reports to the Charter Commission in terms of academic, organizational, and financial performance of the charter school. Note that charter schools are not part of the Department of Education. Our funding doesn't come through the Department of Education, our funding comes directly from the state of Hawaii. And that our governance is not directly from the Board of Education. It's through our governing boards, through the Charter Commission, and then through the Board of Education only in cases where needed. But the Charter Commission is really our governing body. So there's a lot less in common between all the different charter schools. The DOE operates as one institution that supports operations, management, facilities, all that. Each charter school has to manage all of those things on its own. So there's a lot of flexibility, but there's also a lot of accountability and a lot of things that each charter school has to do. In summary, charter schools in Hawaii are really different than what people think of as charter schools. We're much more like what we would call a pilot school in some states like Massachusetts, or a magnet school in some states, because we operate as state agencies, because our teachers are part of the union. We really just have a little bit more curricular freedom and flexibility, and then we have a facility situation that is as yet unanswered and a big challenge for us. But overall, charter schools in Hawaii are much different than on the mainland.